Hi, it's Katrina. There are so many dinosaur species now that you can hardly keep track, and still the discoveries are rolling in practically every day. In 2025 alone, scientists have found new giants, uncovered T-Rex blood vessels, and even a dinosaur highway. Let's check out the latest discoveries. T-Rex blood vessels. Jurassic Park incoming? Scientists are bringing back animals from extinction, but is the T-Rex next? If we've learned anything from movies, it's that dinosaur blood will lead to the creation of an island amusement park overrun with dinosaurs created in a lab. The problem is finding that blood. A mosquito in amber isn't going to cut it, but apparently it's not a problem anymore. What started as a casual scan of a dinosaur's rib turned into one of the most shocking moments in paleontology. Scientists found blood vessels in a fossilized T-Rex. These are actual fossilized remains of the squishy vessels that once carried blood through the body of one of history's greatest beasts. He even has a name. Can you guess it? This T-Rex's name isn't Gargantua or Savage Rex. His name is Scotty. What Scotty didn't know was that he would be the heavyweight champ of Tyrannosaurus Rexes millions of years after his death. He probably never once considered in all his life that his bones would be strung up in a museum and he'd be hailed as one of the largest of his kind ever born. But before you start imagining Jurassic Park-style resurrections, let's get into the bizarrely cool science behind how a prehistoric brawl, a suspicious X-ray blip, and a nerdy physics lab collided to rewrite what scientists thought they knew about dinosaurs. It began with Jarrett L. Mitchell, a PhD student at the University of Regina. He was scanning Scotty's ribs like it was just another Tuesday in the lab, which it was. He spotted something odd in one of the X-rays, kind of like when you find a French fry at the bottom of the McDonald's bag that isn't supposed to be there, but you're not mad about it. Mitchell shrugged and showed the blip to his supervisors, Dr. Mauricio Barbie and Dr. Ryan McKellar. They took one look and almost squealed with glee. They recognized what they thought could be preserved blood vessels, the holy grail of dinosaur finds. It was a game changer. Quick refresh for those who don't keep a running list of celebrity dinosaurs. Scotty is a massive T-Rex, the largest one ever found, in fact. He was unearthed in the 1990s in Canada. He is also old, about 66 million years old. But apparently, time hasn't been too cruel to this guy. What the researchers found in that X-ray wasn't just a weird fossil glitch. It was evidence of blood vessel structures preserved inside Scotty's rib, likely in a spot where the bone had been healing from a major injury. Maybe a dino street fight, a reptile love triangle gone wrong? We'll never know what happened, other than something smacked Scotty hard enough to leave a mark. If you're wondering how you can scan a dinosaur's rib, I'll tell you, it takes more than a regular office scanner. This job required synchrotron radiation, which is X-rays on steroids. These super-powered X-rays created stunning 3D images of Scotty's bones and revealed a healed fracture with preserved vessel structures woven right into the repair site. After the pictures, the team followed up with chemical analysis to figure out exactly what was inside those vessels. Turned out the dinosaur still had soft tissue, which survived against all the odds for millions of years. This is something that should be impossible and is essentially a miracle of preservation. According to Dr. Barbie, it's groundbreaking, but it's also sheer luck. While the T-Rex's wound was healing, its wound had increased blood flow to it. The rib was fossilized while blood was still rushing in to patch Scotty back together. And voila, a miracle of preservation. And here's where it gets even cooler. By comparing these ancient healing patterns to those in modern-day reptiles and birds, the T-Rex's only surviving family, scientists can start piecing together how healing and biology evolved across millions of years. Understanding dinosaurs helps understand animals still around today. What the blood vessel means going forward is unclear. It's doubtful that one preserved vessel is going to usher in an era of dinosaur cloning in Jurassic Parks, but it is a step in the right direction. And if you want to see Scotty for yourself, just buy a ticket to Canada. Scotty is proudly on display at the Royal Saskatchewan Museum. If you've ever seen Scotty, let me know in the comments how it felt to see such a huge skeleton. Definitely on my bucket list. I wanted to take a quick break to thank today's sponsor, Raycon. Who's ready for the return of their favorite everyday earbuds? They're the perfect way to tune out all the noise around you and tune in to something great. The latest version of Raycon's Everyday Earbuds Classic now features active noise cancellation, the one thing they were missing. Raycon Everyday Earbuds have been an absolute game changer for me. They have active noise cancellation capable of drowning out all of those annoying sounds, like my neighbor playing techno. Raycon's Everyday Earbuds are your sidekick for the gym, work, or phone calls, offering premium audio that goes where you go. I use them for work all the time, so I can watch YouTube all day long and not bother anyone around me, especially when I'm traveling. Their latest model is better than ever, and the batteries on these things never die. Seriously, they last forever. We are talking 32 hours of battery life. Raycon isn't messing around. There's nothing more annoying than finally putting in your earbuds but they have no battery. But with Raycon's quick charge function, just 10 minutes of charging gives you 90 minutes of battery. And the best part, they're insanely affordable. You don't need to compromise on quality just to save some cash. Raycon gives you reliable, premium audio without breaking the bank. Actually, the best part is that they don't fall out of your ear. I use these every time I travel or work out, and I can't tell you how many times I've been moving around and lost an earbud, but not Raycon. Plus, they are weatherproof and sweat resistant, perfect for warm weather and exercising, which we should all be doing more of, by the way, but I've never had an issue with them slipping out no matter what I'm doing. I've also been loving these cool protective case covers. Check this out. And not only do these look great, they also support wireless charging. Click the link in the description box below or go to buyraycon.com/originsexplain to get 20% off fan favorite Everyday Earbuds Classic. Thanks again to Raycon for sponsoring this video. And now let's get back into it. The herbivore with weapons for hands. Forget everything you think you know about dinosaurs. Purge all the stuff you've seen in the Jurassic Park and Jurassic World movies and open your mind to the newest addition to the Dino Hall of Fame. Because this creature isn't a towering carnivore or a winged terror, it is a plant eater with 2 massive claws, an ostrich-like face, and what scientists are calling a grasping specialist. I bet you can't wait to find out what a grasping specialist is. If salad tongs came to life and took on the form of a dinosaur, they would be Deinonychus batari, the newest Cretaceous behemoth to rock the world. This strange new dinosaur, unearthed in Mongolia's fossil-stuffed Gobi Desert, is a one-of-a-kind species within the bizarre family of tyrannosaurs, a group of theropods famous for looking like evolution took a wrong turn and just kept going. Most tyrannosaurs had 3 claws. Deinonychus only had 2, making it an anomaly on the family tree. But oh boy, did it commit to the role. These weren't your run-of-the-mill talons. The claws were nearly a foot long and bigger than the actual finger bones underneath, which sounds less like biology and more like a prehistoric anime character design. The result was a dinosaur with 2 massive slicing hooks and the body of a 570-pound feathered tree hugger. Researchers think the claws were anything but for show. They were probably excellent tools for grasping vegetation, digging, defense, or, let's be real, dressing up as Freddy Krueger for Dino Halloween. This oddball was discovered in the Bayan Shiri Formation in Mongolia, a region that might as well be called the Cretaceous Louvre. Seriously, UNESCO dubbed the Gobi Desert the world's richest dinosaur fossil reservoir, and this only adds to its prestige. If you want to go dinosaur hunting, you have got to do it in Mongolia. You're practically guaranteed to walk away with some, though I'm not sure you're allowed. So if you try to leave with a dinosaur, you might end up in Mongolian jail. Just a fair warning. Deinonychus lived during the late Cretaceous, sometime between 100.5 and 66 million years ago, which puts it in the dramatic final chapter of the dinosaur era, right before the big space rock came knocking. Scientists didn't just find fossilized bones, they also uncovered a keratinous sheath on one of the claws. That's the prehistoric equivalent of finding fingernails still attached. This sheath, made of the same stuff as your own fingernails, helped protect the claws and likely made them even deadlier. This is very cool since it is the first time that keratin has ever been confirmed on a tyrannosaur claw, which is the kind of paleontological mic drop that gets researchers very, very excited. Now for the pop culture throwdown. You may have already seen this family of dinosaurs in Jurassic World Dominion. The Rhizinosaurs starred in one scene as a long-clawed menace that looked like Edward Scissorhands decided to cosplay as Big Bird. Deinonychus, though, is even weirder. It was smaller, possibly fluffier, and rocked a dual-claw setup that made it look halfway between a salad chef and a sword fighter. According to Dr. Darla Zelenitsky, study co-author and dino expert at the University of Calgary, these creatures were downright awkward looking. But hey, it couldn't help itself. Evolution was experimenting. North America's flying terror. What's small enough to sit on your shoulder, delicate as a soap bubble, and older than all your grandparents combined, going back to the days of cave people and Neanderthals? That would be Eotephrodactylus mcintyre, a freshly discovered pterosaur that just shattered records as the oldest known flying reptile in North America. She may have been the size of a seagull, but this little ash-winged goddess just dropped a bombshell 209.2 million years in the making. And it's all thanks to just one jawbone, a really fragile one. It's the kind of fossil that looks like it would break if you sneeze near it. Paleontologist Ben Kligman found himself squinting at the thing under a microscope at the Smithsonian, cycling through his mental Rolodex of Triassic jawlines like he was trying to match a Tinder profile from the late Triassic period. Is this a pterosaur, he wondered, or maybe a mammal? It was a perfectly reasonable question given where the fossil was found. It was dug up at Arizona's Petrified Forest National Park, from a dig site that is basically the Costco of ancient bones. Even some seasoned experts thought it might have belonged to a mammal, since there are so many different types of fossils at the park. And did I mention the bone is about the size of a baby carrot? Not the easiest thing to study. Kligman, stubborn as a mule, started comparing the jaw's shape, its teeth, and its weird little details to the usual suspects of Triassic animal anatomy. One by one, he ruled them out until finally the light bulb went off. Yes, the jawbone belonged to a pterosaur. All of Kligman's stubborn studying paid off in the end. The name of this new creature sucks to try to pronounce, but so do most dinosaur names, to be fair. The meaning behind the name, though, is kind of awesome. Eotephrodactylus means ash-winged dawn goddess in English. So with this kind of name, you would think it would be a huge dragon, not a tiny dino that could perch on your shoulder like a parrot. Ben Kligman was the guy who identified the jawbone, but he wasn't the one who found it. The other half of the creature's name, mcintyre, comes from Susan McIntyre, the volunteer at the Smithsonian's Fossil Lab, who found the jawbone while sorting through 1,200 fossils. For 18 years, McIntyre worked behind the scenes, painstakingly cleaning and cataloging the kind of stuff most people wouldn't look twice at. One day, she came across a tiny jaw with its teeth still intact, and so she flagged it. Then Ben came along to make the connection between the bone and the ancient animal that owned it. But enough of this scientific yakking. What was this dinosaur like in real life? It was like a little pocket dragon. She was a close cousin of dinosaurs, but not technically a dinosaur herself. It's easy to call pterosaurs dinosaurs since they lived at the same time, were scaly, and looked like winged lizards, but they were different. Pterosaurs were the first vertebrates to evolve powered flight, which is nerd speak, for they didn't just fall with style like Buzz Lightyear, they really flew in the air, propelled by their wings. And some of them grew to be huge. But not our new friend. Kligman described her as small enough to sit on your shoulder, like a seagull. Which makes me have to ask, is this guy a seagull whisperer? Who has seagulls landing on their shoulders? Researchers dated the fossil to 209.2 million years ago. That level of accuracy is pretty rare, and it's all thanks to the thick layers of volcanic ash where the jaw was found, which acted as Mother Nature's version of a time capsule. The dating puts our little ash-winged heroine smack dab in the middle of the late Triassic, just before Earth hit the reset button with the end Triassic extinction. This was a mass extinction event that wiped out lots of competitors and cleared the runway for dinosaurs to rise from the ashes. Since I mentioned it, I might as well give you a snapshot of this extinction event. It destroyed an estimated 34% of all marine life, while on land, all known reptiles except for dinosaurs and pterosaurs, and crocodilomorphs, which crocodiles are literally invincible. Since everyone except crocs, dinos, and flying reptiles were wiped out, these three families were able to become the dominant land animals on the planet for the next 135 million years. They were like the three crime families taking over New York after killing off the competition. And if you want to know how the end Triassic extinction was triggered in case it happens again, that's easy. It was volcanoes. Enough volcanoes erupted at the same time that the Earth experienced global warming on a level we can't even imagine. It was so bad that immense amounts of toxic mercury leaked into the environment while the oceans turned into bubbling acid. Okay, enough doom and gloom. Our new pterosaur friend's tiny, overlooked jawbone just rewrote a whole chapter of paleontology. It took a sharp-eyed volunteer, a persistent paleontologist, and a fossil no thicker than your pinky to prove that North America's oldest flying reptile was awesome. And now for a quick break, because it's shout-out time. I want to give a big thank you to Joel Smith and Mike Jacobs for supporting this channel. We wouldn't be here without you guys. Be sure to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you don't miss out. The dinosaur that came back from the dead. Just when you thought dinosaur discoveries couldn't get any wilder, a new species crashes the party without even needing a single surviving bone. A new species has been identified without scientists touching a single fossil. This monster dino didn't come roaring out of the dirt, it came strutting out of an old photo. Its bones were destroyed during World War II, because war is not good for preserving stuff. Meet Tamaryraptor markgraffi, a 33-foot-long apex predator from ancient Egypt who spent 95 million years extinct, another 75 years thought to be lost, and is now making headlines thanks to wartime photographs. In 1914, a team of German scientists unearthed some seriously intimidating fossilized bones. They were found in Egypt's Bahariya oasis, a lush, prehistoric paradise in the middle of what is now desert. These remains ended up at the Bavarian State Collection for Paleontology and Geology in Germany. Then came World War II. In 1944, a bombing raid reduced the museum building to rubble, taking Tamaryraptor's bones with it. And just like that, poof, one of the largest carnivores to ever walk the earth was lost to history. Or so scientists thought. Fast forward to today, a team of researchers from the University of Tübingen were digging through some dusty shelves full of old photographs when they stumbled upon never-before-seen images of the destroyed fossils. At first, doctoral student Maximilian Kellerman thought, maybe these are just photos of the well-known Carcharodontosaurus fossils. Then he looked closer and nearly fell off his chair. There were horns. There was an enlarged frontal brain. There were all kinds of skeletal quirks that didn't match anything previously labeled as Carcharodontosaurus, the giant meat-eating dinosaur family to which the fossils had been mistakenly assigned for over a century. Kellerman realized the photos were showing the fossils of an unidentified species of dinosaur. He was about to make history. First off, let's break down the name. Tamari comes from Ta-Meri, the ancient Egyptian name meaning promised land. The second half of the name is raptor, which is Latin for thief, because all raptors are little menacing thieves. The final part of the name, markgraffi, is in honor of Richard Markgraf, the fossil collector who first dug up the bones in 1914. Suffice to say, Richard has been gone for quite some time. If he were still alive, he'd be over 110 years old. So there you have it. Now you're acquainted with the thief from the Promised Land, a predator that would have given T-Rex some serious competition. In paleontology, naming a new dinosaur species without having a physical fossil to poke and prod is borderline taboo. But this wasn't just any fossil. This was a fossil that had been documented, described, and destroyed under extraordinary circumstances. The study authors said this is an exceptional case. And they're right. This is exceptional. The discovery doesn't just give us a new dino to obsess over like 8-year-old you with a new dinosaur coloring book. It cracks open the door to what might be a far richer prehistoric world than scientists ever imagined in North Africa. Egypt, land of the pharaohs, home of the pyramids, keeper of secrets and eternal wisdoms. Buried deep beneath the sand, next to lost tombs and forgotten mummies, are more dinosaur fossils than you can imagine. Scientists have found dinosaur species like Deltadromeus and the famously aquatic Spinosaurus in the sandy regions of Egypt and Morocco. With Tamaryraptor bursting onto the scene, that's yet another giant carnivore that prowled what is now the Sahara. North Africa was teeming with strange, sharp-toothed behemoths, and scientists are only now cluing into that fact. They've barely scratched the surface and have many, many more discoveries ahead of them. The Dinosaur Highway. Some discoveries rewrite history. This one rewrites prehistory. So, a guy is digging up clay in a quiet English quarry when he stumbled on some bumps in the rock. Probably thinks he's hit a few buried bricks or something. Yeah, right. Turns out he has unearthed the prehistoric equivalent of a 4-lane highway for dinosaurs. Ladies and gents, meet the world's first known Dinosaur Highway. It's a sprawling network of nearly 200 dinosaur footprints uncovered in June 2024 at Dewars Farm Quarry in Oxfordshire. It's now officially the largest dinosaur track site ever discovered in England, and it's giving scientists the kind of giddy excitement usually reserved for people who find winning lottery tickets under their couch cushions. The track site, dated to a mind-bending 166 million years ago, sits right in the Middle Jurassic period, back when England wasn't foggy and rainy, but hot, tropical, and crawling with giants. The stars of this prehistoric foot parade are some of the most famous dinosaurs around. 4 of the major trackways were made by sauropods, massive, long-necked plant eaters like Brontosaurus. These guys were the double-decker buses of the Jurassic, stretching over 60 feet long. Another star of the show is Megalosaurus, a 30-something-foot-long predator with claws so sharp you would think it was auditioning to replace Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. Megalosaurus also holds the honor of being the first dinosaur ever named by science, way back in the 1820s, before the word dinosaur even existed. And here are its tracks, just sitting pretty in a random spot in England. 166 million years, and this animal's tracks haven't aged a day. Awesome, right? Professor Kirsty Edgar of the University of Birmingham feels the same way. Kirsty said this is more than just fossilized feet. These footprints offer a snapshot, an actual moment from the life of these animals. Animals that nobody will ever see again, unless, science allows us to bring them back from the dead one day. Professor Richard Butler, paleobiologist and professional time travel translator, explained it rather eloquently, saying that when you find footprints, you're not just learning what the dinosaurs looked like, you're also learning how they moved, how fast they walked, how they behaved, and maybe even who was chasing whom. Especially when a predator's track crosses right over a sauropod's tracks, let's say. Awkward. Now, if you're wondering how a few footprints survived millions of years when your own beach tracks vanished before lunch, here's the secret. Professor Butler explained that shortly after the dinosaurs left these tracks, a storm likely swept in and buried them with a thick layer of sediment, which locked them in place like a prehistoric time capsule filled with wet putty. This type of perfect preservation happens maybe once every 1,000 years, if you're lucky. But in England, it seems to have happened a lot in the same spot. The team behind this discovery was more than 100 people strong. A small army of scientists used drones, digital imaging, and 3D modeling to snap over 20,000 high-res images. They have since created full 3D reconstructions of the trackways so that scientists and curious dino enthusiasts at home can analyze every step in microscopic detail. Science has come quite a ways from the days of shovels and comically small brushes. Just like modern highways tell you who's commuting, speeding, or just stuck in traffic, these ancient tracks might tell scientists who was eating, who was being eaten, and who just wanted to mind their own business. If you're in the UK, you'll soon be able to see these Jurassic prints in person at a new Oxford University Museum of Natural History exhibit. Or you can see them from the comfort of your own couch, courtesy of the BBC's new Digging for Britain. What if dinosaurs never left? How would you like to go back 66 million years to a time when T-Rexes ruled the globe, Triceratops were basically living tanks, and hadrosaurs were the quacking, plant-powered giants of the late Cretaceous? Sounds like fun, right? But what if you didn't have to go back in time to see these cuddly characters? What if they were still alive right now? A new study just dropped like a meteor of truth in the journal Current Biology. It turns out dinosaurs weren't in some slow-motion extinction spiral like scientists have been telling us for years. Scientists tried to insist that dinosaurs were already on their way out through the back door and into Extinction Alley when the asteroid hit like a cosmic sucker punch. The research team, which included paleontologist Alfio Alessandro Chiarenza, dove into the nearly 8,000 fossil records from North America, specifically from the Campanian and Maastrichtian ages from 83.6 to 66 million years ago. Are you with me? They focus on 4 big-name dinosaur families. One is Ankylosauridae. These herbivores were armored tanks with tails that could crush a car. Another is Ceratopsidae. These were horn-faced royalty like Triceratops and all other tops derivatives like Utah Ceratops and Titanoceratops. There are a lot of these guys running around with big old horns. Another is Hadrosauridae, the family of duck-billed wackos who probably got made fun of by the other dinosaurs. And finally, Tyrannosauridae, the iconic T-Rex squad. Now, I'm telling you all this because on paper, it looked like dino diversity peaked around 76 million years ago and then took a nosedive right before the asteroid hit. But the deeper the researchers dug, the more they realized something was off. It seems the issue is the Maastrichtian age, that final stretch before impact. It had horrible fossil preservation conditions. It was just the worst. Imagine trying to piece together a crime scene from a pile of ashes and a soggy sock. During this age, hardly anybody ended up as a fossil. So, scientists mistakenly assumed that dinosaur diversity was in decline. But it wasn't. Not to worry, I've got a scapegoat. We can blame the Earth for this error. Because around 75 million years ago, the Western Interior Seaway, a giant inland ocean that once split North America in half, started to peace out. At the same time, the Rocky Mountains decided it was time for a growth spurt. Environments changed, rivers shifted, sediment layers got all messed up, and good fossilization spots vanished. The fossil records start to make a lot more sense once you take all of this information into consideration. For example, among the 8,000 fossil records from this age, ceratopsians and their horned heads were found most often, probably because they lived on open plains where fossils had a better chance of being preserved. Hadrosaurs, on the other hand, were more elusive. These duck-billed dinos loved rivers, but rivers had dried up and shifted, so they weren't able to be fossilized in their usual environments. It's like they were the indie band that no one heard of because their records never got pressed. Only in this case, their bones never got pressed. Chiarenza said that dinosaurs were probably not inevitably doomed to extinction at the end of the Mesozoic era. If it weren't for that bully of an asteroid, they might still share this planet with mammals, lizards, and their surviving descendants, birds. So no, dinosaurs weren't weak, fading relics when the asteroid came. They were still stomping around, thriving and doing their thing. But do you think if dinosaurs never went extinct that we'd even be here today? Think about it and get back to me. A sea monster, a family legacy, and a final triumph. It was a day like any other on beautiful Vancouver Island, and Mike Trask was out with his daughter, 12-year-old Heather, exploring the beautiful wilderness. As they moved along a riverbank, they stumbled upon something weird. It was sticking out of the bank like a chunk of driftwood. Only it had teeth. Big, nasty, prehistoric teeth. Mike and his daughter didn't know it at the time, but they had just found a sea monster that's been dead for 85 million years. This amazing discovery isn't exactly recent. Let me tell you. Mike and his daughter found the bones in 1988, but it wasn't until now, decades later, that scientists finally named the mysterious monster. They did it just days after Mike tragically passed away. But don't despair, because scientists did something truly special to honor Mike. They named the creature Trascasaura sandrae after him. He had accidentally discovered a whole new genus of marine reptile that day, but it wasn't until his death that scientists confirmed it. They now know that Trascosaura sandrae was a creature so fierce, it's practically grinning in its fossilized photo like it's daring you to swim near it, saying, "Go on, get near my teeth. I totally won't eat you, I promise." What Mike and Heather found on that fateful day over 35 years ago on the shores of Puntledge River was the remains of a 36-foot-long marine reptile with teeth that looked like nature's version of a bottle opener. The bones were eventually displayed at the Courtney Museum and Paleontology Center, where Mike's twin brother, Pat Trask, happens to be the curator of natural history. The fossil was cool and mysterious, but also misidentified. In the 80s, Canadian scientists labeled it an elasmosaur, a type of long-necked plesiosaur, but something didn't quite fit. For over 3 decades, paleontologists scratched their heads. They knew they had something special, but the fossil was too weathered, too corroded, and too frustratingly incomplete to confirm its identity. The mystery remained unsolved until 2020, when Pat Trask struck gold. Not literally, but in paleontology terms. He found a better preserved fossil of the same animal right in the same Vancouver Island region. It was the discovery of a lifetime. Now, with 2 high-quality specimens in storage, scientists could finally determine what sort of animal it really was. Elasmosaur or some other marine nightmare? Maybe something entirely new. 4 years went by with scientists locked deep in their studies, squinting into their microscopes like monks trapped in caves while studying illuminated manuscripts. Then, paleontologist F. Robin O'Keefe of Marshall University published a paper confirming what the Trasks had already known. Mike had found something amazing. Truly amazing. Trascosaura was not an elasmosaur after all. It is a brand new genus. Not just a new species, but a whole new branch on the plesiosaur family tree. What makes this aquatic cretin so different from other marine monsters is its teeth. This animal came equipped with heavy, sharp, robust teeth ideal for crushing, which makes you wonder what kind of horrifying shellfish or armored sea creatures it was snacking on. And it had enough weird skeletal features that made it very unlike other plesiosaurs. It appears to have been stronger, meaner, and bulkier. It was the kind of sea beast that didn't chase you, but waited for you to come close and then crunch you like a walnut. Locals are so obsessed with this dinosaur-age sea monster that the province of British Columbia made Trascosaura their official fossil emblem. Way to go, Mike! Sadly, Mike Trask died on May 15, 2024, just 8 days before the study naming Trascosaura was published. His daughter, Heather, who shared the original discovery with him, passed away previously in 2023. It's pretty sad all the way around. Thankfully, though, both of their names are now etched into scientific history. A shared moment between a father and daughter on a riverbank nearly 40 years ago will forever live on in the name Trascosaura. And for that, you've got to respect the scientists who named the creature. When asked about the naming of the animal, Pat Trask had to hold back his emotions lest they burst through like a water balloon full of tears. He managed to get out 2 words: big legacy. What would you do if you found a dinosaur skeleton? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching. Let me know if you'd like to hear about more dinosaur discoveries in the comments. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you soon. Bye!